I'm not muted, right? You can hear me.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you. Neve's just made it accessible for attendees to now come and join us. We've still got 10 minutes before we start, so we're going to get set.
Well, let's see who's coming.
Indeed.
Fingers crossed.
Oh,
We've got one attendee. Hello. Brilliant. We've got a few people entering. If you're just coming into the room, if you can let us know in the chat function at the bottom where you are joining us from. Yeah, it'd be great to know where everyone is.
and if you can make sure that your chat is switched to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see what you're writing. Otherwise it just comes to us and that's a bit boring. We want everyone to see what you're saying.
Just going live over on Facebook as well. And we should now be live over on Facebook. Yep.
Dennis has got his hand up. Do you need help, Dennis?
Dennis, if you can just let us know if you've got any questions in the chat function. You can say it to everyone or you can direct message one of us. I'm glad you got into Zoom though. I know you had an issue. Also, Heidi says hello from Mid Wales. Sarah says is from Warrington in Cheshire.
How can I see the people who've come in?
Can you see participants at the bottom, Bill?
No.
So, oh, Louise, yeah, we're in Derby. We're in sunny Derby, not so sunny Barbados, unfortunately. Oh, Colin is in Telford in Shropshire. Hello. So if you're just joining us, please let us know where you are in the chat function. And yeah, please make sure it's set to all panelists and attendees so we can all see that message. Dennis, you're in Oxford. Brilliant. Is anyone from outside the UK yet? Yes, USA, brilliant.
I've lost my cursor again. Who came in from the US?
Stephen Perloff. From
Lovely Stephen Perloff, from the Photograph Collector and the Photo Review. One of the mainstays of American photography, international photography.
Serious. Good stuff.
We've got Stefan joining from London. Brilliant. So throughout the talk, if you do have any questions for Bill, please use the Q&A function, which is at the bottom of your Zoom window. And if there's any questions that are to do with the talk, I will put those to Bill, and otherwise I'll save any questions for the end. But yeah, please use the Q&A for questions and the chat for chat and any comments.
No comments.
So Peter is in sunny Burton-on-Trent, just up the road from us. Joe is in London. Hello from San Francisco, exciting. I hope it's sunnier there. Hello from Lincoln. Ron Evans is in Charlottesville, Virginia. So we've got a few USA attendees, which is exciting. So Debbie is going to be watching over on Facebook. We are also live streaming live to the Format Facebook page. So Debbie will be putting in any comments and questions from over there.
Yes, if you've got any questions, comments that you want to add while watching on Facebook, just drop them into the chat, into the comments, and I'll bring them back into the Zoom. For those of you who are just arriving into the Zoom room, can I just remind you to put your chat to all panelists and attendees so that we can all see what you're saying. Unfortunately, which is really irritating, it's set automatically to panelists, so only we get to read what you post and not everybody else.
Adam Maisie is in Norfolk. Hello, down by the sea.
Is it raining over there in Norfolk? It's chucking it down here.
We've got a little brief bit of sun.
Oh, nice weather.
The rain. Oh, sunny and warm. Nice.
Being very British here and discussing the weather while we wait. That's what we do best.
What else would we do? Yeah, if you are just joining us, let us know, joining the conversation, let us know where you're joining us from. Sunny and dry in Lincoln. It's nice to see an international audience. Our live photo forums, they usually take place in Derby at our headquarters at Quad, and obviously we've now gone online and really opened up our audience. Oh, Brian Griffin has just joined us. Hello, Brian.
The Brian Griffin?
The Brian Griffin. Unless there's someone else called Brian Griffin that follows format.
They'd be best advised to change their name.
Oh, we've got a few people joining us on Facebook. We've got Joe from Teesdale, Arena from Manchester, and Anthony joining us from Victoria and Vancouver Island. Lovely. Who said he's been to a few of the talks and they've all been great. That's lovely to hear, Anthony. Thank you.
We've had lots of repeat visitors, which is really nice to hear. All of the Format Photo Forum talks that we've done in the live series are archived on the Format Festival website and over on our YouTube. So if you go to the Format website and to the archive section, you will see them all there, and you can watch them all back or watch any back that you've missed. And this one will be added in the next few days. So Ali Newton says hi from Leicester. Great to have access online. Yeah, I think we've definitely widened our audience, and it's nice to be able to open up to more people and new audiences. It'll also be, if you're watching now, let us know in the chat where you heard about the Photo Forum. I think our newsletter is our biggest success week on week. We forgot to do a poll. Should have done that. So we've got 25 attendees. We'll wait a few minutes. We usually get a bit of a... Oh, Lottie Davis, hello from Cornwall.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Lottie.
Now we can start.
VIP.
To me, yes, very important, as is Brian.
Super Brian.
Can I just remind you in chat to please switch your chat to all panelists and attendees, because it's automatically set just to panelist, which is really annoying. I wish Zoom would just set it to all attendees for starters and you could change it, but there we are.
It does save your settings afterwards. Hello from Bolton in England. We usually get a flurry around 3 o'clock, so we'll wait a couple more minutes just before we get started.
I love a good flurry on this book. I've totally lost my cursor.
It's purposefully disappearing on you. It likes to keep you looking.
Well, I wanted to be able to see who was looking, because I can just see the 4 of you, but nobody else. The 3 of you.
Oh, you won't be able to see anyone else's faces. So it would just be the names.
I can't even see that. I'll just have to go on faith.
The curse of the cursor.
Oh, we've got a few more people arriving now. It's hit 3 o'clock. So if you are just joining, let us know where you're joining from in the chat function. Make sure it's set to all panelists and attendees. And if you have any questions for Bill throughout the talk, please use the Q&A function and we will answer those either throughout the talk or at the end.
And also, if you want to know anything about format,
yes,
or anything about.
Well, why don't you remind us when the next Format Festival is?
Yeah, Louise.
All right.
And what's the theme and who's going to be the Grand Marshal or the anything like that?
Well, all to be revealed later in the year, but what we can say is that we're aiming to open the festival on the 11th of March next year, one way or another, online, in spaces, but there will be a grand format bio next year opening on the 11th of March. And the theme is control, and you can read that in as many ways as you see fit, but we have about borders, politics, relationships, control, your own mind, all sorts of ways to think about it. You know, which direction you look to take an image, how you edit, how you construct, and your ideas, and how you feed that into your work, and so on. But the open call for our control theme is open at the moment. So check out the format website, which is www.formatfestival.com. And it's live now. It runs until the 13th of September, doesn't it, Neve?
Yes.
And the early bird deadline is soon, the 28th of August.
23rd on Sunday.
23rd, this Sunday, so get in quick for the early bird. It's very reasonable, tiny fee, but all the artists that come through get bursaries and full support of the festival. There's about 50 or so opportunities, 35 projects will come through, and there's a whole range of other supports for people who come through to the festival program. There's an incredible jury lineup. All the details are on our website. And check out, join our mailing list for updates and all those things. You know where to find us now, I hope.
I actually sent a couple of American artists to it in the hopes that they would submit proposals.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Yeah, do share the news with anyone that you think might be relevant, and yeah, or give it a go. We're really open-minded about the theme. That is, control is the overarching concept, but you can diverge and challenge and subvert it as many ways as you see fit. We're also looking for a range of medium as well, so photography, but also it kind of in its all expanded forms. So if you do stand-up comedy, you do live theatre, you do dance, spoons with a photo background, all kinds of different things. If you are being playful with the medium, we're interested to hear from you, as well as you know, archives, vernacular, using your mobile phone, using a wet plate, collodion, and all sorts of ways of expressing yourself photographically in and about photography. We're interested to hear from you and be challenged by your ideas.
Lottie Davis has asked if writing is acceptable.
Absolutely, no. Anything is acceptable if it's good.
I've put the link to the open call submission site in the chat function for anyone that is interested in submitting. If you haven't already, let us know if you have submitted already and you're watching. That would be nice to hear. And yeah, you can also find more information on the format website. So I think we've got nearly 40 attendees over here, and I'm sure we've got loads more over on Facebook.
Yeah, we've got about 20 people so far on Facebook joining us. I'm going to disappear now and manage the Facebook side. If you're watching us on Facebook and you've got a question at any point for the speakers, just drop them into the comments and I will forward them back into the room. I'll disappear and see you all later.
Thank
you.
Okay, so I think we'll get started. We've just hit 40, and I'm sure we'll have a few more join in as we go. We're obviously joined by WM Hunt, and Louise will be hosting the talk today. It's mainly going to be from WM Hunt. If you've watched any of our previous ones, we've had kind of an in-conversation, but Bill, you're going to take the room today. So Louise, if you don't know, is the founder and director of Format Festival. We're based in Derby, and it's been going since 2004. Am I right?
Yeah.
Get the date right.
Okay.
I will now hand over to Louise, and yeah, please put any questions in the Q&A, and I hope you enjoy the talk.
Brilliant. Thanks, Neve. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks, Bill, as well, for joining us all the way from the US of A, and really thankful for you being with us today. So I'm just going to give a very quick overview of your very rich and diverse career. Hope to do it justice, but obviously we look forward to hearing from you during your talk as well. We'll chip in with any questions along the way. Hopefully won't interrupt you too much, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So WM Hunt, Bill, to us has been looking and talking about photography for a long time, although you wouldn't know it. Initially a collector, then a dealer, teacher and a writer. Hunt's a champion of photography, a collector, a curator, a consultant, all the C words, who lives in New York. His collections have been exhibited in Europe and the US. Recently organized an exhibition in Poland, our partner festival, our sister brother festival in Łódź, called the the oohs and the eyes, oohs and the e's.
Nose and eyes.
Nose and eyes. An unusual melange of inspired selections from the photography collections of W.M. Hunt. I'm sure we'll talk more about that as we go along. Also, his publication, The Unseen Eye, was supported by Thames Hudson, Aperture and Actes Sud, published by those guys in 2011, which presents a wonderfully idiosyncratic and compelling collection of photographs assembled around a particular theme. In each image, the gaze, the subject is averted, the face obscured, or the eyes firmly closed. Amassed over the course of over 30 years, Mr. Hunt, by yourself and Bill. The collection includes works by masters such as Richard Avedon, Diane Arbus, Imogen Cunningham, William Klein, Robert Mapplethorpe, Robert Frank, and others, as well as lesser known works by artists and vernacular images. The images are drawn together by a highly personal monologue that weaves throughout the book, in which Bill offers his own perspective and perceptive responses and perspectives to the images that he's gathered over many years. He teaches and lectures around the world. His upcoming sessions are coming soon. Will they be online, I guess, at ICP in New York and the main media workshop. And he also writes multiple things. So The Unseen Eye, for example, we just mentioned, Hunt's Three Ring Circus, American Groups Before 1950, Lloyd de Photography, it's a super online magazine, and other projects, and numerous artist monograph essays, including one for volume 2 of our lovely Brian Griffin's biography, Black Country Dada, which we're looking forward to launching at format next year. And so, as we know, and thankful for you being a big fan of format. You've participated in the past 3 editions as a portfolio reviewer and guest speaker, and recently curator of Lottie Davis's exhibition called Quinn that took place at the Tram Museum in Derbyshire, deep dark Derbyshire, beautiful place. And you're a descendant of Harriet M. Stevens, who emigrated to the US from Derby in the 1880s, which is our most incredible claim to fame for Derby, that the inventor of the hot dog, and then consequently incredibly connected with yourself, Bill, and photography, and the rest is history, isn't it? So we need to know what a steel puddler is. I need to Google that. But anyway, so he went on to create the hot dog, and check him out on Wikipedia. We know you love photography, and it's clear that it's changed your life, and it is your life, and looking forward to hear what you share with us today. So I'll let you take over, Bill. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I can't see anyone at all those in some respects. I like Derby a lot. The Format Festival gives me an excuse to go there and try to track down some part of my family history. So the invitation was to give a talk about collection dancing bear, and I thought about it. And 30 years ago, I did the first talk about photography that I ever did at the Museum of Fine Arts in Richmond, Virginia. And I did a talk called The Walls of the Dancing Bear Cave, or Stuff I Dragged Home, which is what it was. It was looking around the room and talking about what was there. The opening, I'm going to recreate. Imagine that, okay, so this is what I said in Richmond. Imagine that you're in the basement of some church that's probably seen better days, in a room full of people who have also probably seen better days, and there's a little circle of folding chairs that have seen better days, and there's a lectern, and there's the sense that everybody really wishes they were smoking, so they're all drinking coffee like mad. So this person rises in this group, and they go up to the lectern and they say, hello, hello, My name is Bill. My name is Bill, and I'm a collector. Huh. So that's pretty much the sense that collecting is indeed obsessive and addictive and thrilling, and it did point my life in a direction that I never would have anticipated. That I have a lot of fun in photography, and I've had a lot of fun in photography for 40 years, and it's a good place to hang your hat. So this is then in 2011, I did a book called The Unseen Eye that Louise mentioned. And the opening of that book is this. This is a photograph of me. And I go on to say that this is a photograph of me. I'm the young boy behind the post, out of sight, hidden, unseen. And then I say, well, it's not really a photograph of me because it's a picture by Ralph Eugene Meadyard. But it is, as we say at our house, a metaphor for these pictures that I started acquiring for reasons that I will never, never fully understand. I think about this a lot, and I've talked about it, and I tell people that 40 years ago, I went to an auction. I went to Christie's, in fact. In my book, I say it's Sotheby's Park Bennett, but it actually was Christie's, I've discovered. I went and I bought a photograph. And this is the photograph I bought. This is a photograph by Imogen Cunningham called The Dream. And this photograph exists, the image exists a number of ways. This is like the smallest cropping of it. It's actually a lady sitting on a rock. But I had this whole notion that I wanted to acquire a photograph. The voices said, buy a photograph. Further, buy a photograph of some woman with a veil over her head or with her face hidden. That's all romantic and soft and dreamy and mysterious. So I bought this picture with like $12 in my, I don't think it had $12. I didn't have enough money to buy the catalog. I remember sitting next to some guy who had boots on, and I think he thought I was being really like friendly and open, but I really just wanted to see his catalog. So I looked in the catalog, which he handed me, and I could see that there was this Cunningham coming up, and I knew her name. She'd been on television, and I could see across the room. I didn't know anything. I didn't know you could see photographs beforehand, that you could take them out of the frames and look at them. Also, I didn't know $125. I didn't know who you paid. And then what did you do when you got it and took it home? So, but they tell you what to do. So what I'm going to do is walk you through pictures that I acquired over 40 years. And ultimately, I did do a book. The one on the left is the English version. It is a Thames Hudson book that then Aperture in the middle acquired, as did Actes Sud in France. So the three books are identical, same pictures, same sequence. Maybe there's a little difference inside the credits, but it's Lee Friedlander, Carrie Levy, and Blumenfeld. So that publishers are funny because they all talk about each other, and the people at Thames and Hudson say, oh, that's such an Aperture cover. But I'm happy with all three and thrilled to have done a book, and you can still find the book on Amazon. It's a very decent book. So what's a photograph? A photograph is, for me, it's just magic. It's a combination of light and magic. It's been captured on a piece of paper. I love the notion of delight in photography. You don't want to take the delight out of the photos. Anyway, Dwayne Michaels, The Illuminated Man. I think this is a good representation of what the collection is about. I like pictures that don't give it to you. I think a powerful photograph, a great photograph, is one that insists that you as the viewer collaborate with the artist to give the meaning to the picture, because then it's personal, then it's unique, then it really just courses through your whole body in this, with this incredible impact. So I like it to be a little vague, a little distant. Early on, this was the second picture I ever bought, which is a Brassai. What are these three ladies doing? Cortege. So I'm not going to tell you much about these pictures, because in a lot of instances, I don't really know much about them. They just moved me. They engaged me. They challenged me. And the best of these are different each time I go to it. But the best of them fill me up each time with something. Dorothea Lange, Korean Child. Andre Cartier-Bresson. I know what's going to happen is I'm going to pull up a picture pretty soon that I won't know who the artist is. So early in my collecting, this I did all with very limited resources too, but 100 years ago, you could buy great photographs for a couple $100. It was, you could really shop. Once upon a time, someone told me what's really happening in this photograph. Why is the little boy in that sort of delirious whirl? And I was fine not knowing. It diminished the impact of it by someone telling me what was really, really going on. Too bad. This is Diane Arbus, Mapplethorpe, Robert Mapplethorpe, Cedric. I love this picture. I love most of these pictures that I'm showing you, otherwise I wouldn't show them. This looks like just a great apple. It's like an apple on a counter. Friedlander, Lee Friedlander, Walker Evans, Robert Frank, Adam Foos. This is a photogram, meaning a cameraless photograph, but spooky. When I was looking at photographs early on and really, really flying blind without a lot of information, I wasn't very well read. Now I'm very well read. Now I know a lot of stuff. But when I didn't know anything, I knew everything. As you get older, one of the adjustments that I've made is to try to forget everything when I go into an exhibition. I really, really want to be as raw and fresh and available to the experience of it, so that I can get, so that I'll be amazed. I'm always looking for that one that's just going to knock me out. I don't collect much anymore, but there's a new addition to the collection, which I'll show you. Dear Brian Griffin, this is the new acquisition. Iconic Brian Griffin. So, don't be afraid. When you're looking at the pictures, show up. Be as true to yourself and direct, and let the thing wash through you. It'll make all the difference. So as a collector, photography really did change my life. I'll walk you through a couple of epiphanies. I like the idea of a good epiphany. So this is an Arbus, Diane Arbus. This is a picture of actually Anderson Cooper, the newsman when he was a little boy. But this is like a little Buddha for me, sort of slathered in oil. And there's a component to looking at pictures and coveting them. I remember the best question I ever got asked as a collector many years ago is, walk through a little show, and this young man, who was like 14, said, "So why do you have to own them?" And that stopped me for a moment. And I thought about it, and my answer was, well, then they're mine. And it was really, really true. There's this whole covetous nature to collecting, taking them home. And then most collectors don't actually need to have them out. It's enough knowing that you can go through this sort of file of what are the pictures that are in your possession. And I think that the Arbus is a really good example of that, because it really is the bomb. It's a picture that you take into your life, and it opens you up in wonderful ways. So there was a discovery that a long time ago, I had a lovely little penthouse apartment, and I had renovated it, and was sitting in my apartment one night by myself, and I was probably a little stoned, and I probably owned about a dozen pictures or so, and they were all around and out, and I was looking at them, and I said, wow, my God, oh my God, these are all pictures of me. It was kind of stunning. And I went, oh my God, no, this is, if these are all pictures of me, then anyone who looks at them is going to find out about me. And then I realized that people weren't really that clever. But I knew it, and I knew that these were all manifestations of my unconscious or whatever. And at first it was completely overwhelming and intimidating. And then I realized that it was empowering, because it was a way of knowing myself, of discovering myself. A thing that you recognize in the book, if there's a sort of progress in the narrative in the book, it's that by the end of it, I had a better sense of self-esteem. And I would argue that I got it through buying photographs, collecting photographs. So early on, I'm looking at pictures and I'm realizing that they're all me. So this is me as a young child, as a baby. This is Adam Foose. And of all these baby photographs, the idea that he's taking this little kid and putting them in a little Tupperware plastic thing that has some water in it, and then shooting this like humongous strobe light through the kid, who years later will be in some movie or something, and there'll be a bright light, or there'll be lightning or something, and I go like, oh my God, no, it's that horrible PTSD experience of having been photographed as a baby. One of the reasons why I do like this picture, and I didn't know it when I bought it, but I guess I recognized it unconsciously, is the way the mass of the baby manifests in the center in this really powerful sort of organic way. If you're not getting this, write me an email. Barbara Morgan, Lloyd's Head. I tell you, man, this looks just like me as a little kid. Steichen, Dana Miller at some pond, I don't know. I love this picture. It's so exuberant and just blows out of the frame, and it's full of life. It's dynamic. This is late Steichen, or whatever that's worth. This is a picture of Andre Breton, and since it's a photo booth picture, it's tiny. I presume that it is a self-portrait, that he put the Franks or whatever into the photomaton and took a picture of himself. This is a famous picture. This is either the one that's on the cover of the famous surrealist book, or it's from that session. I remember seeing this at Paris Photo, and I got to the point as a collector where I would go to an art fair and pray to God there wasn't anything I liked, because prices have gone up increasingly over time. And there was this image, and oh no, because for me, I gotta have this. This is like, if the collection has a surrealist through line, you gotta have this picture. So I do. Philip Jones Griffith. This is a Viet Cong prisoner. This picture centers me in this completely unique way. I went to Vietnam, I served in Vietnam, and this doesn't relate to my experience there, but as a condemning image of the devastation of war, this is good. It's a really, really powerful picture. Henry Wessel. I tell people that this is also a picture of my father. It looks like his silhouette, and my father specialized in looking off into the middle distance. Thank you. And this is an who is it? Ralph Steiner. This is a metaphor also. I would say this is a metaphor for my relationship of almost 40 years. Two dudes looking off into the sea of what? Doing their best, doing their best. Larry Ginatino was an artist who passed on, who, as a dealer, I became a dealer. I was a dealer for about 15 years. He was my first success because he was someone, I wouldn't say I discovered him. He found me. He picked me up in the Newark Museum, and he wasn't like anyone I ever met. He was dynamic and funny and strange and wonderful, and this is his self-portrait. That he loved making portraits of little tiny things, almost always objects. So this is unusual because it has some humanity to it. It's really dear, and it's hard to pick favorites, but Arthur Tress. I like, in photographs that I have around me, I like this existential riddle, this yearning for a moment of transcending life, the search, the reach, the possibility. This is an odd picture. This is a single person. This is half man, half woman. And, you know, face up to it, folks. You all got a little girl, a little boy in you. So it's a curious portrait of sexual identity. Irving Penn self-portrait. I ran into this at an auction, and I didn't think I knew what Irving Penn looked like, except I looked at this and I knew immediately it was him, based on information that was hard for me to articulate. But I had so much respect for this search, his realization that he's half there and half not there, and this notion that he's trying to come into focus. I mean, this is all my interpretation. You do discover that chronologically, this is a picture that he made in the 6 months or so after his wife had died. So it is perhaps an image of grief, of mourning, but I don't know how I knew it was Penn, because there are not lots of pictures circulated of Irving Penn. But true to fashion, there's a real brilliance to it, and I was really glad to acquire this. So what you've been looking at is the arc of me from being a baby to being a young man, to being a middle-aged man, to being an old man, even a dead man. This is Bonjang-ku from South Korea. And this is me as a beautiful woman. As the joke goes, this is Avedon, Sophia Loren. So glamorous, chic, exciting, exotic. I do like my adjectives. And that's the arc of the collection. They're all pictures of me. I will say that one thing too is that it really did become empowering, so that I'll show you a picture in a bit that is an unpopular photograph with many people, and I'll tell you more about it. But so at the same time, the pictures of me and any good Freudian analysis, they're also pictures of other people. So I showed you the picture of my father. This is a picture of my parents. This is not literally a picture of my parents, but this is a representation of my parents that is this distillation of everything that was swell about my parents. My parents were complicated. They're not so complicated in this picture, so this is really easy to live with. Herbert Mitchell, I think. So it's a society picture, and my gosh, isn't this graceful and delightful, and I want to be them. This is a picture by Roger Main, and I've given variations on this talk, and I give other talks, but I was doing one once in Florida, and I had some family in the audience, and I said, who knows who this is a picture of? And my sister shot her hand right in the air, and she said, that's a picture of me, because she knew. There's a complication in these photographs. There's an emotional complexity that is, as you break it down, as you try to decode the image, becomes really, really personal. And I think that's where the greatness in these photographs lies. Robert Mapplethorpe, quite atypical for what you expect out of Robert Mapplethorpe, I think. This is a portrait of Alice Neal shortly before she died. And I think it's in this photograph. I feel her soul slipping out of the bottom of the frame of this image. I find sad, and there's really something desperate about it. And I think that acquiring it in some way armed me for the death of my own mother, which sounds like a really perverse thing to say, but that's how I broke it down. Robert Mapplethorpe, Alice Neal. So how do you collect? So I was a dealer for many years, and I used to, at one point I taught a class on collecting, and I hated it. I hated teaching it because I thought people were just looking for, they were stalling. You know, if you want to collect, just buy the damn things. But here's some advice. For people who have heard this advice before, thank you for your patience, but I still stand by it. So here are the 3 principles of collecting. You're in an auction house, you're in a gallery, you're in wherever. and you're in front of a photograph, and for reasons you cannot articulate, the hair on the back of your hand or the hair on the back of your neck is standing up, standing straight up. This is a good sign. This is a sign that you should have this picture. You're connecting. Very important. Number 2, if the sound of your heart beating is louder than the sound of the voice in your head that says, you cannot possibly afford this picture, pay attention. Your heart knows. And number 3, I don't know how I figured this out, but it was really pretty good. Your feet will walk you up to the picture you like. That if you're in a museum or something, and you're walking around and everybody says, oh, look at that, the Mona Lisa, best picture ever made. Well, if your feet are pointing at the Titian over on the other side of the room, that's not really how the Louvre is set up now, but okay, look at your feet. Your feet will walk you up to the photograph, the painting, the sculpture that you like. It may take you a moment to actually consciously sort out what your unconscious is telling you, but your feet will walk you up to the pieces you really, really like. When I discovered this as a dealer, this was money in the bank, because you look at people around the gallery and you knew what they liked because they were standing in front of it. So I was always shocked when another dealer would say, oh yes, that's a really good one. And we'd go like, yes, why do you think I'm standing in front of it? So those are 3 pieces of advice on how to figure out what the good ones are. There is a 4th principle to collecting, which is, maybe it's here. Oh, there you go. So feel, listen to yourself, show up, try to spend some time trying to figure out what your taste actually is. Try to be articulate about it. When I have taught in the past, I've always forbidden kids to say nice or interesting, but that's not good enough. Be clever, be articulate, be able to say, this is a photograph that moves me because it reminds me of a story that happened to me when I was a little kid. Tease that out, and you'll become better at talking about pictures. One of the big epiphanies from me as someone looking at photographs, I was in Albuquerque, I think, Albuquerque, New Mexico, at a Joel Peter Witkin exhibition. And a woman named Eugenia Parry was doing a walkthrough. And she was brilliant, really, really outstanding. And her technique was to send a photograph. So this is pretty difficult stuff. And she would describe the photograph, and then she would describe her feelings about the photograph, how it landed on her. And she would do that with a lot of detail and a lot of thought. And I remember taking all of this in and thinking, this is amazing. I thought you had to know the whole history of art, and you needed to really, really have, you had to have read everything and be trained that way. And she set me free. She really did. That was just such a big deal to me to know. If you show up, look at the picture, and then talk about it in a very personal and articulate fashion, you're home free. That's what you should be ambitious to do. In here, the 5th principle of being a collector is commit. You telling me that you're going to buy a picture or you're going to steal it or get it somehow. Great, great, that's just great. But it's just nonsense unless you actually get it. And so you got to commit. Then you're a collector. Otherwise, you're a fisher. I don't know what the Yiddish word is. Anyway, this is stupid. This is a cartoon advice. I used to give this advice to would-be collectors. I would send them, I would make them buy a book. There's a book called 100 Photographs by Bruce Bernhard that Feiden published 20 years ago, I don't know. It's still the best book about looking at photographs because he doesn't tell you anything. There's great text in it, but it's 100 pictures that aren't famous. And if you're really trying to learn for yourself, these are really, someone else chose these pictures. He was a famous picture editor, English picture editor. And it tests you to look at a photograph and you can decide, this photograph that's not familiar to you, why is this a great photograph? Do I think this is a great photograph? So it really is a great way of learning. But my cheap advice here for someone who's a would-be collector, shopper, rich people always have good shoes on, no matter how dressed down they might be. They have good shoes, and someone pointed out to me once, they have good glasses. So if you want to get the dealer's attention, wear good shoes. Oh, back to the epiphanies. Okay, this is Irving Penn, two Guedras, whatever, Guedra, a photograph that is also the cover of his book, Worlds in a Small Room. This is the greatest photograph ever. So this is it, kids. You don't look any further. I bought this photograph and it was the most I'd ever spent on a photograph. And boy, oh boy, was it worth every penny of it. This is a photograph that is the ultimate in secrets. What are these two ladies doing? They seem to invite you into some place. I do think that great photographs are magnetic, that they physically insist that you come closer. And when you come closer on this photograph, it all opens up into this universe of silvers and grays and platinums. The print it's a platinum print, and it's exquisite. My advice to would-be photographers is check into a hotel room with all the good Irving Penn books, spend the week sucking him dry, and that's an education. That's a year at university. This is the photograph that the house is on fire. I'm going back in for this one. I'm saying that I have to offer up an advisory. I'm now at the point as a collector where I'm really going to stop collecting. I have a whole other collection of American groups, photographs of American groups that were made before 1950. But I've decided that I want a clean house. And to that end, there's going to be an auction in October at Christie's that'll have about 100 of these pictures, many of the pictures that you're looking at, including this one. And I'm all done. I had a really good dance with this, and time to move on. So there you go. That's my announcement for today. Here's another epiphany. So 100 years ago, I was the chairman of an AIDS AIDS organization called Photographers and Friends United Against AIDS. And that was a real game changer for me because I was someone who would go to a party and just be a mess because I didn't know how to talk to people. I was really intimidated by it all. And when I had something to talk about other than myself, I changed. I could go to a party. I can go to a party and meet people. And it was because I was the chairman of this organization and I was trying to raise money, a very important cause. In the midst of that, there was an article in the New York Times, this 1993, and there was even a photograph of me. And it outed me as a collector, and I suddenly had a little more visibility in the world of photography. And I took advantage of it. And I became someone who taught. I love to network people, to get people to meet each other, to make things happen for photographers. And I get a lot of pleasure out of that. And I would say that this article in the New York Times had a big change for me. Then, how many years later? 18, 20 years later, this book happened. And this book happened because I had a show in Arles and in France, the south of France. And it was a big show. It was a big, fun, strange show, sans regard, without looking. And out of that, Thomas Neurath from the Thames Hudson sent me a letter and said, could they do a book with me? And I wrote back and said I thought it was a stupid idea because I didn't think anyone would want it. And then he persuaded me that we should. And it took us a long time to get it together because it took like 6 years before the book came out. But then it did. So this is a little side beat, a little piece of advice about what's an eye. I was looking at this piece one day, this is Elaine Rychik, and it's called Red Man. The piece on the right is a photograph. It's a vernacular photograph from 19th century, and it's been from the south end of South America, Tierra del Fuego. And so she's taken the photograph and reproduced it life size, black and white, and then she's replicated that with yarn. She's basically made a knit sculpture that has some relief to it. And I had seen this piece in a show, and it was out of my price range. And usually as a collector, I was fast. If I saw it and it had done that thing where there's this funny quote that I learned early on that if you gave a really rude soundbite to the press, that it had a very good chance of being reproduced in a magazine in a very big. That was something for Art News, which has done profiled 100 collectors, and the quote was something along the lines of, "You want a photograph so good it makes you fart lightning." So they reproduced that big, 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 big. So I saw this piece and flipped out, just thought it was great, but it was more money than I had. So I tracked her down. I would keep tabs on her over a period of time. And like 10 years later, which was a really long time with me, she had a show in Soho and I was in the gallery and spending a long time looking at work by Elaine Rychik. And the dealer came up, and who was someone I knew, and he said, "Well, of course you like that. You have a really good eye." And I took exception to his saying I had a really good eye. I told him, I said, look, I don't need you to flatter me or anything. I just don't, you know, I really like this. They're out of my price range, and don't blow up my skirt like that. And he went, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? Don't you know you have a good eye? And I thought about it, and afterwards, and I thought, well, maybe I do. So after that, there's another little, when I teach a workshop about looking at pictures, I have a little more that goes with this, but you'd have to take the workshop to get that. So I decided that, yes, indeed, I have an eye. So if you want me to come over as an eye, I'm available. So this is a big deal in terms of my own collecting, because I did actually buy the picture. And it's important to me because it was the moment when someone said, you have an eye, and I believed it. And what's an eye? An eye is just the combination of experience and intuition and maybe commitment. The ability to look at something and go, out of the 1,000 pictures here, this is the good one. That's what an eye is. That's what a photo editor does. They go through all that mess of pictures and they go, this is the one. There you go. This is by Gerald Sloda, who changed my life. So Gerald Sloda is an American artist. And once upon a time, I got this very funny presentation to come to Soho to see this artist named Gerald Sloda. And not only did I go see the show, and I went to work for the guys that owned the gallery for 10 years, and that's how I became a dealer. But it was through Gerald Sloda, and I think this is probably the seminal picture of his in my collection. This is a picture of me, and it's complicated, it's good, and it's bad. It's this big round face, and the eyes are empty, and in some respects, it's this devastating self-critique, nonetheless. Here's some others. Phyllis Galembo, she's a Siva crown. It's a little, focus is a little whiffy, I'm sorry. It just shines, it gleams, it glistens. It's a glorious, glorious color portrait, and vaguely related to the pen. Sometimes you're able to buy more than one. These are Aaron Siskin's Terrors and Pleasures of Levitation. I do like experience, someone who's able to capture that in a photograph. These are typologies, this little section of the presentation. This is Bill Armstrong from his Renaissance series, these out of focus, sort of amorphous faces, visages is what I was going to say. And there are, it's a whole wall of pictures. Bill Armstrong is someone who I've collaborated with on other projects. He's genius about color, and we had a little talk about the history of color photography and the impact of color. We did the Photographers Gallery in London once upon a time, so I'll give them a little shout out for trusting us with their space once. This is someone named Jan van Leeuwen. This is the first time I think I was approached by an artist who had work that made me cry. I thought this work was so achingly personal and beautiful. They're self-portraits, but it's this expiation. It seems to be this expiation of some very dark, dark place. So I have infinite respect for this man. Todd Watts, The Very Last Old Man. As a collector, this was important. There are actually 5 of them, but I woke up one day They're big. They're about 1.5 meters high, and it's a silver print that's had information penciled out with a pencil and then rephotographed and printed gorgeously, luxuriously. These are luscious. And I woke up one morning and I went, I don't want to know, I don't want to not know where these pictures are in 20 years. So I called them up and bought them all. And it used to be that you'd get off the elevator in our apartment building. It looked like Stonehenge, because these are impressive. Challenges. I have no idea whether I said that. Why did I say that? Oh, here's some difficult pictures. Don't be afraid, children. Buy the tricky ones. So this is the Klein. It was a horrible, horrible idea. Can you imagine? This guy is leaving the house in the morning and he says, oh, honey, I'll be late tonight. We're going to meet down at the inn because the Rotary Club is having our picture done. So what's really, really creepy in this is that there are people you can see on the lower left or the side of that forgot their hoods. They got there and they went, oh, damn, no hood. So they've got dinner napkins over their faces. And you go, what's that about? That's really creepy. But this was a big deal for me because it was a little expensive and nobody knows who did it. And my God, this is a creepy picture. And there's another story that goes with this. This is the only picture I ever bought that made money. But you'll have to tune in again for that one. This is Joel Peter Witkin, Man Without Head. I turned 50 years old and I saw this picture in a gallery. And I don't think I'd ever seen a photograph that unsettled me so much. It really shook me to my core. But my feeling about that was, if I owned this picture, I would be powerful. So I bought this picture and it made me powerful. This was the ultimate bad boy moment. And this work is not welcomed in our home because the other person who lives here, my longtime partner, he don't like it. So thank you, Joel. It's amazing how direct this piece is. How it's not, Joel will do all these things where he combines images and whatever. This is just a straight picture, in focus, gorgeously printed. And it's so weird because as a portrait, he's really left space for the head. So not everybody's cup of tea, but there you go. Here's a difficult one too. This is September 11th. This was in the New York Times, and I saw this photograph and I went, my God, oh my God. It really does take your breath away. I've shown this in exhibitions and I never show it by itself because it's really upsetting to a lot of people. And I usually put a picture. Actually, it's a picture of a gymnast and I hang their picture upside down so that the force is going against it, trying to balance the whole thing. But I genuinely want to mess with people when they come into an exhibition. I want to make them think. I want to get them off their happy place, and I don't want to make them sad. I don't want to anger them, but I want them to think. That's what I want. So here's a picture that doesn't get reproduced because, particularly in America, because in America, this terrifies people. This is a picture by Tony Ward, who's from Philadelphia, who I would describe as a Helmut Newton wannabe. I'm looking at his portfolio one day and I get to this one and I go, I don't know what that's a picture of. I really didn't. And maybe some of you don't know what it is. So get your kids. Your kids will tell you what it is. I'd never seen a picture like this before, and it looked like a face with no eyes. And I made him give it to me. I can be powerful that way. Okay, so we'll give you a break there. Those are the three most intense pictures I can think of. Here's a picture. She lives. Color TV radiation turns girl into monster. This is a picture by my college girlfriend, Maureen Anderman. And I used to hide this picture in a drawer because I went, that's a great picture, but it's not by anybody who's a photographer. And slowly it made its way out of the drawer. I got it matted and I put it out. And then I would tell people it was by Gary Winogrand. And then I went, no, it's by Maureen Anderman. The lesson I learned from this is about legitimacy, that this is a really successful picture. And for me, it's legitimate. Here's another vernacular photograph. I've got lots and lots of unauthored, unattributed photographs. A friend of mine who was a dealer had this, and this is magical. Imagine this keyhole of light covering the face in this not very particularly interesting portrait of somebody. Now it's interesting. Here's a press print. I love press prints that have sort of strange meanings. What are these ladies doing? It says lubrication, and they have all these tissues over their faces. It's funny. Sorry for the distortion in this. This is mafia trial. First woman electrocuted. So these are press prints that appeal to me. What's he doing? Who knows? What does your face show? Facial analysis. This is actually a guy named Peter Sakir, who was a known photographer. But imagine, here's this woman who doesn't have anything going on in her face. She's just not there, but she's perfectly willing to pay someone to tell her what's going on with her face. It just occurred to me, maybe she's waiting for someone. Funny picture. Ouija. Godfrey Frankel. But this seemed like a good one for me about the unseen eye. This is a still life that was owned by somebody, and I thought I'd never have a still life photograph contains human eyes. So this fellow had this photograph, and I said, I want you to give it to me because it makes more sense for me to have it than you. And he said no. So I had a copy print made, and then years later I got a phone call. Hey, that picture that you copied, didn't you have 2 copies made? He said, well, we had an accident at home. Picture was in our bathroom and it broke and everything. So there are 2 copy prints of this, but in my collection, it made a lot of sense. I have this whole bear fetish, so this was a good fun. The Alinari brothers. This is like Samuel Beckett making a picture. John Hilliers, this is this complicated picture, Zuni, Native Americans looking into the sun. After I'd known this picture for many years, I realized that it was incredibly cruel, that these albino Zunis being faced into the sun. Frank Sutcliffe, great kids. Dizdari, this is the death mask of a baby. This is pretty creepy. These are uncut carte de visite sheets. I'm gonna pick this up. Frank Reinhardt, chief shot in the eye, you know, chief shot in the eye. Here's an example of an artist who I really liked, and I thought, geez, that's too bad he'll never have a photograph that is appropriate for my collection, because I like to keep it that way. And then I found chief shot in the eye. First photograph ever made, maybe, the Shroud of Turin, Secondo Pio. Silly little cabinet card. Another cabinet card, anonymous. Another. These are smaller, these are carte de visite. So this is fun, you know, when you're looking at stuff that the authorship is not important, it's just the image. These are tintypes here. You can have a good time for not a lot of money. This is actually, this picture is destroyed. You know, the silver all fell out of it. My sister gave me this picture, and I can remember I was visiting her, and I saw this on the table in the hallway, and I looked at her, oh, what's she doing with this picture? And then I realized she bought it for me, and I went, this is a good gift. I had the great pleasure of being a dealer and representing Irvin Olaf. I always thought it was important to have relationships with my photographers that, where I'd have a piece in the collection, Mitch Epstein. These are some contemporary, more contemporary pieces. This is a Dutch photographer who lives in France named Chun Hawks. This really is a picture of me. I completely see myself as the man looking at his reflection in the rain, and it's the artist, it's a self-portrait of the artist, but Chun does these staged pictures that are in black and white, and he hand colors them, and there's something about this look that looks like me. It's the hang of the shoulders, it's the whatever. Gary Schneider, this is his self-portrait. These are scans of his retina. Miguel Rio Branco, that's a face. So I have a show in Poland right now, which hopefully they'll put up the link, called O's and I's. And they are photographs in which the shape is what's important. So the O's are faces, heads, they're round things. And the I's are all these dense, vertical collections of people standing up in groups. This is a piece by Michael Floman, who I think is a poet of photography. This is called, I think this is called Being. Oh God, I forgot. Or no, something you, knowing you, or something like that. And it's a complete cameraless picture. It's light on film, and then worked on in the dark room. It's breathtaking to me. And one day I was in the Metropolitan Museum, and there was this photograph on the wall in this stupid little show. Bill Brandt, Dubuffet's right eye. I saw this picture and I went, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is great. It looks like an elephant. And I thought, I gotta have it, I gotta have it. And I was walking home and I thought about it. And I said, like, you know, Bill, that eye was wide open. What's going on? And I recognized that maybe I was done with that collection, that I had moved to a new place. Oh, here's a letter from This is the American cover of The Unseen Eye. This was, I used to be an actor and I really wanted to perform a version of the book. So Gerald Slota made this image. It's me bent over our couch. And Aperture was nice enough to let me perform it there. This is what pictures do. That's it. That's it. So come back into, I'm going to get out of this. How do I do that? And hello, ladies. You got any questions?
Hello, thank you so much. It's been an amazing journey. We've heard you speak a few times, but I feel like you unravel certain parts of yourself every time, a bit further every time we hear from you.
The unraveled eye.
The peeling, the peeling of the eye, the back of the eye. Quite gruesome, like anyway. But so I'm just wondering how you feel about because selling off your collection is quite a big news for us, at least anyway. And I guess it's been a long decision for yourself. But how do you feel about that? That's such a personal collection, and what part of you will be changed as a result of letting those images migrate onto other places?
I think most collectors would offer up that they're just caretakers, that they're not going to have the pictures in the crematorium with them. That the pictures, they've been the caretaker for a period of time and then move on. There's so far been there's been no despair. I think that the pandemic has something to do with this, that you really want to, my big question, I feel very positive about it. I really looking to streamline things, and this will do it. And I hope that I have some fun with it, that the Christie's auction is just the tip of the iceberg, because there are a couple of thousand pictures that I need to find homes for. So some of that will be donation, some of that will be sales, and so I've given myself 3 years to do this, and the first year will be this collection, and the second year will be the collection of, there's a second, so the first collection is called Collection Dancing Bear. The second collection is called Collection Blind Pirate, and that consists of American groups before 1950. And I think they're both very left brain, right brain parts of me, and the prospect of clarity is what I'm looking forward to. I got to the point, Louise, where the biggest problem with the collection was stuff falling on my head, because almost all these pictures are framed, and it's really a lot of work. So, and it's me. So, and I have a lovely assistant part-time assistant named Julianne Nash, who's a wonderful photographer, and she's moving on too. So that's how I feel about that.
Well, I guess it's if it was the same case like 50 or more years ago, whatever, the objects would be absolutely fundamental. But now you have so many publications, a lot of material's been digitized, and it kind of exists on the memory of it. You can revisit those images potentially. Obviously, some of them maybe will kind of
also,
on, but it's not like it's a complete disappearance of the relationship that you've had with those particular photographs that you've got most close to, isn't it?
It's exactly right. So about 7 years ago or so, I was looking for something. I saw a picture in the Times by oh my God, I just blanked on who. Of Carol, and looked at it, and I went, "This is a great picture." I mean, I said that out loud, and I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna." So I saved the JPEG. I just put it on my desktop as a great picture. So I started this folder called Great Photographs, because it was not a picture I was going to purchase. I was not going to acquire it. But I realized I was able to start acquiring great photographs online. I just had them in my computer. And that then became the spine of a workshop that I teach called How I Look at Photographs, which now I call How I Look at Pictures, because pictures is a different word from photographs, and pictures has a real kind of rougher, more immediate sense. And so that will become a book. So one of the things that's been going on in this period of time is that I started a book called Great Photographs, or at least some really good ones. So I'm happy with that title, and I basically use the PowerPoint, the keynote that I used to teach that workshop, as the chapters in the book. And so I've been elaborating on that. And that's been very satisfying.
And the images
they live on.
You live on, good. And the images within that, have they been of any era, or have you kind of stayed within kind of your kind of very personal taste?
That's the whole.
Kind of free.
I'm really eclectic. I've gone. I think the hardest thing to do as someone in photography, you know this more than I do, is to stay contemporary, is to see what's new, that's good, to like, where do you look, how do you the number of portfolio reviews that you've done, that I've done, and the number of times when you just go like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. This is good. This is really, really good. A frustration with photography is that overwhelmingly people make good photographs nowadays. That's really exciting. But the number of great photographs, that's different. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that moment when you look at something and you go like, oh my God, this is just stunning. I never saw anything like this. And it just goes to the core of you, and you want to dance with it. You want to just pick it up from the table and dance with it.
Absolutely. So many people talk about, or most interviews that I have, people say about the overwhelming, there's so many billions of photographs on the internet, there's billions of producers of photographs, of images, whatever you want to call it, daily, simultaneously, per second, per day. There's this incredible statistics, but you're absolutely right. When there really aren't that many incredible or images that resonate or completely tug on your heart or whatever. So that kind of moment where you kind of almost sort of semi-spiritual moment when you encounter something that just,
it's transcendent. It's glorious.
It's absolutely incredible, and that can come from anywhere, from anyone, even within someone's long career.
And I think that's why you keep looking. Keep looking, because when it does happen, it's so good.
It's addictive. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the exhibition in Wood, because the photographs of the install are pretty special, and the concept for that, if you want to say a little bit, is that okay? So
the Wood Festival, I've gone to twice. It's run by a young man that we both know, Christoph Kandrowitz, who's charismatic and fun, and they approached me about doing an exhibition, and the suggestion was, they didn't have an idea. So I had the idea that I wanted to show works from both collections based on shape. I have increasingly been in love with work that's very abstract. I don't need much now for a picture to really thrill me. Just a circle, and then that's great. So I did that. I would do about round shapes, and then what I call lowercase i's, people lined up. And then the festival was supposed to be like in April or May, and we're all locked down. So the idea that shipping a show was going to be, how was I going to find a shipper? Just not. Nobody was working. And I thought, I had scans of most of the the group pictures. Anyway, I said, let me send you the scans and you print them there. And everything was scanned with a frame because I wanted people there to know these are not the originals. These are copies, but it's a way of communicating what these photographs look like. And I didn't want things to be, I've seen shows where they're not the artist prints, where they're prints that have been made by Hewlett Packard someplace. And you see competitions like this, and you go like, these are not, the artist didn't do these pictures, didn't do these prints. So we tried to be very upfront about that and direct, and I'm very happy that the show looks handsome. It's in a space that has a lot of light. There's a lot of space. They don't have to worry about the condition of the pictures. The windows are wide open. I wanted to hang everything from the ceiling, but they devised a system so that everything's in the middle of the room on these structures that got built. So I'm really, really happy with it. I'm terribly frustrated that I'm not going to see it in person. And but I thought it was a way of handling things in this moment in time, so that you didn't have to be worried about trying to ship valuable pictures to Europe. And I think it saved the festival about $15,000. So they probably liked that.
True as well, but it does look incredible. I mean, at the moment we're all accessing things remotely, aren't we? And it looks absolutely convincing as a true framed.
But I love the trick of the frame too, that when you look at them, I will say the prints look to be outstanding. They really look like they did a very serious and good job. And the idea that some of these sort of fancy old vintage frames are two-dimensional, and it's all glued to the surface. I like that. I thought that was pretty good. When you look at them from the side, they look like everything's been framed in a very classical fashion. So anyway, I'm glad you looked. I'm very happy with that show.
Yeah, we're looking forward to working with you on a little
thanks. Me too.
Airing for next year, isn't it? Or
Control.
Find that. And also we've got a couple of questions. Do you want to paraphrase?
Yep. Yes, so we've got a couple of questions from the audience. So Jonathan Amos asks, Bill, if you are selling your collection, by your own definition, you are selling yourself. How will you buy yourself back again?
Huh. That would argue the question, do I want myself back? I think the only thing that occurs to me is that the punchline to the joke is now that we know what you are, we're just talking about price. So some people know what the joke is. It doesn't bother me at all. It's fine. Photography has been just great. Fun, surprising. Who knew that would be a door that opened to me? So that's the gift. So I whatever the question was, I'm not worried about it at all.
So you're not afraid that you're losing part of yourself at the images?
No.
You've had that experience?
No, I got myself. Actually, that's the whole arc of the collection, is that seeing the photograph of the eye wide open, I realized, oh my God, you're at the end of this. Whatever, it's basically shopping as self-help.
And in the best way, I think. So we've got one more question from Sue R. And she says, for the book of great pictures gathered from the internet, will advance authorization be requested of the authors of these photos and reproduction rights? She is interested because she cares about creators' rights to usage of their works.
Absolutely. We'll do it by the book. Absolutely, I would. The whole idea of Facebook and Instagram as being this great sort of free zone that people are circulating photographs without permission. It's the Wild West. A book publication, absolutely, I'll go after all the rights. And that's a funny area because it was revealing to me when I did the book. So there's a funny story about the book. I somehow found out that the person who was doing the rights negotiation on my Thames and Hudson book was actually going to be paid more than I was as the author. And I thought, that's peculiar. And also they'd been given $10,000, the equivalent, for rights, you know, that was the budget. And I said, no offense, but you know, I could do this and you could pay me to do the rights search. And I don't think I did the most genius job ever, and they had to do a lot of scurrying after me to make sure things were all taken care of. But it was revealing the only people that really wanted money were dead people. That estates go, you know, we want you to pay through the nose for that one. And very often you would say, like, you've got to be reasonable. This is, if you ask for so much money, you just make the publication of this book prohibitive. And I would say to younger artists or less exposed artists, I go like, you really want to hold me up on this project when in fact you get a free copy of the book and the potential good exposure. I think you have to be a little artful about, I understand that this is how people make their money, make their living, but they really don't make it by being in anthology books. So here's the story about the Klein picture. So I buy the Klein picture and I spent $1,500 on it. And this is like 20 years ago. And that was an outrageous amount of money that I had paid. But the picture's that good. It's a great picture. A week later, the phone rings. It's the Museum of Modern Art. Hey, you own this picture, right? We'd like to put it in a show. So what do you think about that? Great, okay, sure. So then a week later, the Museum of Modern Art calls up again and says, thank you very much for giving us permission to use this picture in the show. And by the by, how much do you want for us to use that picture? It never occurred to me that I would ask for money. And so in my brilliance, I said, well, how much were you thinking of? And this young woman said, $1,000. $1,000. And I think she heard it and she went, oh, that's not enough. And I went, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's great. I said, $1,000. So fine. I get a free copy of the book. The picture's in the show. It's all happy. They framed it. Time goes by. 5 years later, phone rings. Hi, this is so-and-so from Time Life Books. You're the owner of this Klein picture, the notorious Klein picture. And I am indeed. Well, we'd like to put it in a book that we're doing this next year, and so we'd like to secure the rights to use it. And I go, you know, that picture gets $1,000. And so it is the only picture that ever paid for itself. So that's that story.
Incredible. But like you're saying also about collecting images, many of us who are obsessed with photographs are kind of pooling or links or thumbnails or kind of connections to the original source. It's only, like you say, when it comes to reproducing them or you know, putting them in a place that would then go on to be sold or consumed in a different way, then obviously you go to great lengths to try and find the originators of it. At the moment, we still have a project that's live called Mass Isolation Format, where we've invited people to respond to this situation of COVID-19 around the world. We've had over 30,000 images submitted to that, all of which, pretty much all of those will be featured as part of format next year. And the logistics of communicating with that many individuals is quite an enormous task, to say the least, but we're still open for people to take part. You can join us on Instagram, so you look at mass isolation format and add the hashtag mass isolation format to your images if you have something that relates to that. Do have a look at our stream on there, and you can see with the kinds of work that's getting submitted, all kinds of different things. Obviously the COVID sadly, the situation of the virus is still live globally, and everyone's dealing with it with a different kind of personal situation as a result of that. But kind of image making has been a lifeline to so many photographers, or not only photographers, people, human beings, and their animals around, to actually survive and maintain their well-being at this point in time. So do have a look at those images and participate if you'd like to, and yeah, we'll be letting people know what's happening with them soon.
Good luck with that.
Thanks. I think we're quite nearing the end of our session. If we've got any more burning questions from the audience that says something new beyond what we've talked about already?
No, that's all the questions from the audience, and I think this is the first time we've finished on time. So well done for that.
Yeah, finally we made it. But thank you so much, Bill. Really love hearing from you. Really love
my pleasure. I look forward to the upcoming format and the ongoing format. So format is always on the move.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, people. Thank you, audience. I have no idea who watched this thing, so let me know.
Paul Herman, he's saying thank you. There's lots of thanks coming through on the chat now, isn't it? But
yeah,
so I can look at the chat. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, we've had some great people joining us. Thank you all for coming today. We've also had people watching on Facebook as well. It's been absolutely brilliant. If you want to join in the projects that Louise mentioned, we've put the links into the chat so you can follow those links. Or just go to the festival website.
Stephen Perloff has been answering audience questions along the way as well. Thank you for...
Yeah, it's been brilliant fact checking.
That's what he does.
Apologies for there was a few glitches from Bill's stream along the way. So
I hope Stephen puts up a link to his site too.
Yeah, do that. And you can watch again on Facebook if you'd like to go back through.
So when do you put it together and post it again?
It's live now on Facebook and it'll stay there, but then the edited version will go onto our YouTube archive, which you can access via our YouTube account and on the format archive on the website.
Perfect. Thanks.
You'll be up this week. But yeah,
Thank
you so much, Bill.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for the attendees. Our lovely audience as well. See you again next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.